Hello, everyone. Johnny Disc Golf back with another interview. This time, I am joined by the prodigy himself, Mr. Gannon Buhr. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure, dude. I appreciate you taking the time. I know everybody's got a busy schedule, though I think right now maybe some of the least busy you are all season. Tell me where you are, how you doing, and what are you up to over these next like week and a half, 2 weeks break?
Yeah, I'm back home in Iowa. I got back in, I already forgot. Yeah, a couple yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't know. The day after MVP opened. So I kind of made the decision to come back because I stayed an extra week up there at MVP before the tournament when I could have came back home, and then I wasn't real happy with like the 2-3 week break we have between MVP and World or and USDGC. So I just thought, I'll get home quick, and I can kind of just chill at home. But the goal definitely these next, 10 days probably is to really work on like aspects of my game that is really going to be important at USDGC. So putting is huge. I got like 500 putts in yesterday. That felt pretty good. Just all from like 30 feet, which is
Yeah.
my money zone to practice from. I was able to get into like a good rhythm. I got like 93 out of 100 from 30 feet, which is pretty. That's one of my better ones I've ever done. But yeah, I'm gonna go out and hopefully do some field work today. Go play some courses and kind of dial in some discs that I need to figure out. A lot of straight mid range shots, overstable drivers. It's gonna be used a lot out at USDGC, just trying to stay in bounds because that's really important out there. I feel like. And yeah, we're gonna go play a woods course today and here in a just about an hour. So I'm getting pretty excited for that.
Perfect. You said you're at home really dialing in the skills. Uh, are you still you're still doing your basement 30 footer back to back to back, or are you like out at the course practicing? Talk about that practice routine.
Yeah, it's not like super, I don't know, specific. I try to get like a set amount of putts, or if I don't, then I try to do like 30 minutes because that usually equals about, cup like 300-400 putts. I'll probably just take like a stack of third. I try to do like a stack of like 33 putters. Um, and then I just have to do that like whatever, 12 times to get 400 putts. So it actually doesn't take that long, especially because I'm rapid firing putting.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say it's got to be bullets, right? You're just shooting them in there over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah. I'm just trying to get the reps in while not being too quick. So I'm probably like set up, putt, set up, putt. So it's pretty quick. It goes by pretty fast. Um, but I'm really just trying to get the feel, dial in like the line I want to hit. That way I can be confident when I'm on the course. I feel like that's really important is not just having your putt feel good, but like knowing what line to put it on and like kind of watch the disc fly. Um, Circle ones is pretty much what cost me worlds. So I don't want to have that happen again another major.
Yeah, well, let's talk about your last few tournament performances. We saw you. I mean, some would say dominant to open the season. You were in the mix, really there to win every single event. The last couple, though, you've been there, you've been in the mix, you're right there close, but we haven't quite seen you like on the lead cards fighting for the win. Talk about your last maybe month or so and those performances.
Yeah, I never do like too amazing after a win. So obviously I went Idlewild not too long ago, but um, I think Diglo was the next tournament, and that unfortunately is like my least favorite course we play all year. So it probably is not a great headspace to be in, but um, these last few tournaments have kind of been weird. Like my games felt like really good and everything. Worlds was like the only tournament where my putting was just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But like Diglo, I remember two of the four rounds I started off three over through six on the stretch that you should be like three down through six. And so like there's just so many strokes I lost just there. It's like 12 strokes. It's not even that much to ask for, and it just felt like I didn't do much wrong. It just fell apart really quick, but I always managed to battle back. Got a top 10 at Diglo, so then that was all right. Um, got sixth place at Worlds. Kind of a weird tournament for me. Like I said, putting was bad. I missed eight circle ones, and I only made four circle two putts the entire 5 rounds, which is very unlike of me, especially
Mm-hmm.
like leading circle two percentage this season by quite a
Yeah.
bit. Um, so that kind of felt bad. It just felt like I worked really hard off the tee, but it just didn't matter because I just couldn't get it in the basket for some reason. But like I all kind of stemmed from that spit out you filmed on round two.
I was gonna ask,
Um,
did that play into it a little bit?
it definitely, I think it affected it quite a bit actually because Um, that I guess it just put me in a really bad headspace because it was my first bogey of the tournament, and it happened so late in the second round. I was playing really clean. I was like 10 down through 14 that round, and then got a couple pars, and it put me back to 9 down through 16. So it kind of felt like I was just on a slower pace, and then I ended up missing lead card by a stroke for the World Championships, and that just feels bad to like not be on the lead card. Like, I mean, being on lead card is just so important to kind of, I guess, put fear in your competitors' eyes, or kind of just like feel like you're ahead of the charge a little bit. And then I started off my round three going 2 over through four when I know like Isaac went 4 down through four. Like, he only beat me by 5 strokes for the whole tournament. He got 6 in those 4 holes. It was just so fast that like everything fell apart. It kind of felt like, and even during the fourth round, I just had like two of the worst rollouts I've ever had, and they just like both cost me a stroke or two apiece, and it just like so quickly Worlds felt like it wasn't my tournament to win. But you know, my driving feels pretty solid right now, and going to MVP, same thing happened. I had a stretch of 7 holes during the third round where I went 7 over, and it was like that just like never happens. I think I'm tied for the most bogey-free rounds on tour this year.
Wow.
So like I'm not a guy who like does that. Like I don't. And it was weird. Like I never gave up once. It just felt like, and I remember going through my head, I was like, I didn't throw like one bad shot. Like one shot wasn't like so bad where I should have lost that many strokes. Maybe like 2 over I deserved, but it was like, same thing. And I ended up losing to Isaac in Pro Tour points by like 4 points, which ended up being like 2 strokes overall. And to go 7 over in 7 holes, if I could have just like parred a couple of them, I would
Yep.
have had it. But I was able to close that MVP with a 1080 rated round to
Hmm.
finish. So that feels really good. That's like obviously like one of the highest rated rounds you can pretty much do on tour. So yeah, I feel good. I'm gonna try to use these couple of weeks to just work really hard on my game and use it instead of resting, just grinding even more because you might as well. You only two events left. Try to make it, worth it, and then maybe take a couple rest weeks after the term tour is over.
No, I totally hear you there. I mean, we're really at those finishing stretches. It's funny you mentioned the points standings. That was something that I was going to dive into here in a little bit. So let's just get into it. So I did a bit of research. You said 2 strokes. I looked it up. You were 1 stroke behind 10th, which is where Alden finished, which would have given you 8 more points. You ended up losing
Hmm.
by 4 in the standings. So by my math, that's 1 stroke. Now there may be some tie differentials that may
Yeah,
have
I
like
think I think the
adjusted
ties
some.
was kind of a weird. I think the ties were weird.
Yeah. So okay, call it 2. But do you have
Yeah,
your 2 most frustrating strokes at MVP? That really was the difference between you taking the slightly bigger trophy from Isaac.
yeah. Well, and actually, it's not even that. It's like I wanted to be a captain at the All Star event next year. That was
Oh,
Yeah, that was really what was on my mind.
I didn't even think of that because that's 1 2, right? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, that's not like a huge deal. No one really cares about All Stars, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I mean, it's a bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but like a couple to think of, like the final round, just hole two to start off basically my final round of the tournament. I just like, that you have like that 4 foot rock wall on the right side of the fairway, and I end up hitting like I don't know 2 3 feet in bounds. Like I was like that far away from the edge, and then it bounced all the way over like 20 feet right on like a flat line. Like it was a Anheuser hit flat,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just
It's just
bounced like
shoot.
4 feet. Yeah, and then the spotter was like, "That's the second worst break I've seen all tournament." I'm like, "Perfect." I just got screwed the whole back nine of the previous round, but so either that one or definitely one of my strokes during the third round.
Yeah.
Uh, I had like a 35 footer on the castle hole looking right at death, and I felt like I had to run it because it was for par and it was kind of windy. And I like hit the right side of the cage, and then it flew me to like 55 long, and I
Oh.
had like a 55 footer for bogey uphill, and then yeah, probably just that. Or I ran a putt on hole 14, looking at the water, hit the right side of the cage again, and trickled in the water. It was just like
Ah.
just not off by too much, but putts that you never really think about at the time, but you can lay them up. Maybe usually I feel like I'm pretty good at death putts, but when you have that much wind, it's very difficult.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to think like one of those putts goes in and you're the team captain next year. It can really come I mean or we focus on these ones cuz it's at the end of the season, right? But like there's 22 events, 25 events before this that, like, in theory, the same two-stroke swing could
Yeah,
have been the difference. So it's
like
interesting
I
to,
missed
like,
that. Yeah, I missed that putt in the playoff against Andrew Presnell. Like
there you go. That's
just
probably it, right?
the most random stuff you can think
Yeah.
of. I mean, yeah, because that would have gave me three silver wins, and then I would have had the max amount of points for
Hmm.
silvers. Just like I mean, Isaac had the max amount of points for majors because he got two wins, which is
Yeah.
just absurd. You never really see that.
Yeah. So speaking of majors, we are getting down to, we have the women's major, the USWDGC next week. Then we have the MPO side of that kind of equivalent major, the USDGC the next week. Um, I want to talk a little bit about last year's USDGC performance, though, because that was one of the most iconic. When I think about, like, putting your stamp on a season or on a career, really, or a budding, like, legacy, I think of that event. Could you speak a little bit about last year's performance and maybe, like, what you're taking into this year, thinking back on that?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult to repeat. Although I'm I've been just I think I'm just gonna do a lot of mental notes and just really try to play safe and pretty much do the same thing I did last season when I won. Uh, Obviously, if it wasn't for Nicholas, I would have won by a decent margin.
Yeah.
He played amazing. I mean, it was really just like it all happened perfectly in my favor to where he, missed three putts where I made three putts, and it was like it's simple as that. And every single putt that I made was further than his miss,
Hmm.
so it was like a lot of pressure was definitely on him. I think something that might play into it a little bit is he's definitely a spin putter, and I think spin putting with has to be so specific when you're like really nervous. And I definitely have a little more of a I don't know compact stroke. I feel like I kind of just like lock my elbow and bring my shoulder down and then pop my wrist.
Hmm.
It's really like very little motion. I don't use any legs in my putt either, so it's like I think that helped me with being able to putt while being nervous. But yeah, I remember those last five holes at USDGC were weird because I started off the round 900 through 10, which is just I mean, it's basically
Insane.
1100 pace pretty much. Um, and, I remember being like, I was like, oh, three down's a pretty good front nine. And to be like five better than that's crazy. And then I was able to, or whatever, I was able to eagle hole 10 to kind of
Hmm.
you put another stamp on that one. But, yeah, it was just weird after taking that double bogey on 13. It kind of felt like stress free because in a way it felt like I was a little bit out of it.
Yeah.
Um, Being three back to with Nicholas playing so solid with only five holes left. I mean, to think like I have to birdie every single hole, and then even if I do, he could still birdie three, and then I lose. Um, which it's difficult to do but not crazy hard with I think like 14, 15, 16 aren't incredibly hard birdies. Obviously they're not easy, but they're
Yeah.
definitely ones that you feel like you should get, especially because I feel like they're so fair. And I feel like that's another part of USDGC I love is I feel like there's no gimmicky stuff that can happen because it is just I mean it's a little unfortunate, but that's how disc golf works. A wide open course with lined OB is about as fair as you can possibly get because there's really nothing that can go unfortunate. I know. I remember a couple of people hit rocks last year that they put lining the
Exactly.
OB.
Yeah.
I hit one. I hit one that kept me out of bounds. Probably cost me a stroke or two. But I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's just I felt like no pressure coming down the stretch because it felt like it was a little bit over. And then next thing you know, he doinks it off the band from like just outside the bullseye, and I make my 50-foot death putt. And I was back within one, and at that point, I'm like, oh, I have the momentum.
Hmm.
I've been lacing hole 15's tee shot every single day. And I think I literally put it within a circle like that big all four rounds. I was within like 3 feet of the light pole every round.
Oh my God.
And it was just like a 180-foot chip forehand. It
Hmm.
was just such a gimme birdie. So that felt nice. And obviously, the rest is history. Made that huge putt in 17 to come down. He missed his, and then up one going into 18, and it's crazy that the fact that he even was able to park that. And
Yeah.
then I think that was probably one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my whole life is him throwing before me on 18 on the second shot, hearing the crowd like as if he parked it because he did. And then I'm like, crap, I can't play safe anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
That's like one of the scariest greens in disc golf where it's so specific and so kind of like you really have to be there to understand like how the disc flies because the slope is so severe that like the disc has like a weird time flying that way against the slope.
Hmm.
A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people either cut it way too early or go way long.
Yeah.
And I was able to just play it perfectly. Got my, tap in birdie for the win, and that was probably the greatest moment of my life so far.
I love it. Honestly, it was that coming down the stretch, those last 9 holes was some of the most dynamic. Like, that's why you watch sports live, is for,
Yeah,
nine
yeah.
hole stretches like that, back, forth. It was great.
And as a player, it's like kind of awful. Like you don't want to have to be making those. I look back at some of my wins, and I feel like Idle out in Des Moines were kind of just like weird wins for me because obviously I wanted to win, and as the player, you want to make it stress free. But then looking back, like if you didn't do it in a cool way, it kind of feels weird. Even like
Yeah.
my open at Austin win, I still had to throw a really cool overstable mid-range turnover into a super tight green that's only about circle's edge width um, to win that tournament. So it's like, obviously as the player, you want to win, but if you can win in kind of a clutch fashion, that's even cooler. Obviously, it's not good in the moment, but afterwards, it feels amazing to kind of go back and watch the coverage.
No, you nailed it. I'm like, I think, almost back to just this past weekend with Matty O, coming up with that. I mean, I would say historic win, given
Yeah,
his
yeah,
career and everything. One of the most special moments. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there, but one of the most special moments that I've seen in disc golf. Um, but he did not. I mean, it felt in the moment like that shot on 18 was do or die, right? But like, he really didn't have to have a
yeah,
clutch moment. But looking back, it was one of the most, like, it felt, every one of those felt as
yeah,
clutch as
yeah.
humanly possible.
Like he was and I kind of did the same thing at Idlewild where I hit four circle twos in a row to start my round, final round. He did something similar, kind of like in the middle of that back nine where he was
Mm-hmm.
just hitting a bunch of circle two putts. But I mean, it wasn't like it, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously Aaron was right there with him. So, I mean, I honestly thought Aaron was going to win the tournament after his front nine. But yeah, like you can still have clutch moments that I guess if you look at them, they don't mean a ton, but they do
Yeah.
when you come down, having that extra stroke or two going into 18. Maybe if Matteo missed a couple of those big circle two putts, he wouldn't be as comfortable. And obviously, I don't think it still would have mattered because he won by like four. But
Yeah, yeah. He hammered them
it's
all, but
it's so cool to see Matteo's first win. I don't think I've ever really been that excited to see someone win in a long time or even ever. So that was just such a cool moment, and he's like one of my favorite people on tour because he's like a very genuine guy. He's not fake.
mm-hmm.
There's a couple people on tour that are just like you can tell they're a little bit fake sometimes, but like Matteo is like I think he's the most legit guy I've ever met.
He's so
He
pure. Honestly, he is
yeah,
Matthew through and through, and I love him for that too.
no,
I respect the heck out of him.
he's not scared to be himself and just have his kind of funny little things he does, like all the football references and stuff. And he gave a little Heisman to the basket after he tapped out. I just thought that was so funny how he points to like the crowd when he's not even like looking where he's pointing. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's very pure. I want to let's move on to this year a little bit though. Let's we talked a lot about last year, but we are moving into your you can win every event throughout the season, but you just come to the next one and everybody starts tied at zero, right? It kind of wipes the slate clean. So coming into this year, like the stakes. USDGC is huge, right? But one of the things, the narratives that's been going on through this year is the Player of the Year race, and I don't know if that's something that you're locked into or paying attention to at all. But you kind of have your three candidates that nobody really agrees on who it should be, right? You have Calvin, who's clearly the most consistent. Towards the top player. You, I believe, have the most actual wins as far as Disc Golf Pro Tour events.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now Isaac, with the two majors, vaulted himself up into that conversation. Where do you stand on that race? And do you feel like whoever wins or finishes the best between you three here at USDGC is likely going to take that down?
Yeah, I think in that race between Calvin and Isaac, it's pretty close. Um, I I think I'd put myself in third for that race right now. But I also think if I win USDGC, I'll be in first be up for that race because I don't know, it's weird because it's such a hard debate. I mean, I feel like if it was maybe a different major except for Worlds and maybe if Isaac won like European Open instead of Worlds, maybe like I'd probably still put Calvin ahead of him. But as much as I want to give Calvin the up on that just because he has it's weird though. He has the same amount of wins as Isaac. It's just like I guess he has one more silver win, but
Yeah,
um, I mean Isaac's missed cash like a couple times this season, maybe 3 times. I know Isaac started the tour. It really depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at like just I feel like you have to factor in those bad events. Like, even myself, I have a missed cash DDO. Um, yeah, it was ended up being my worst round of the year by far. It was a crazy round. But like Isaac has a ton of those too. He has even more than I do. But Calvin just doesn't have that. So it's like
exactly.
it's such a weird debate. I think I'd give it to Calvin, right if it ended right now. But I think if it's me, Calvin, or Isaac that wins USDGC, I think whoever wins that will be the player of the year probably. I mean, I think it'd be hard to argue against me if I had 3 elites, 2 silvers, and USDGC versus like Calvin's just 2 elites and a silver, and Isaac's 2 majors with all his bad finishes. So it's like I think it'll be tight either way. I'm not really sure if it's like a fan vote or statistics based or anything. So we'll figure that out as it comes. But I definitely am looking to get one of the last 2 events to win. I mean, I think I just need to stay more focused, and not try to push too early. I think I've been doing a pretty bad job of like feeling
Mm.
feeling like I need to be in the lead after round one. And in reality, I just need to play safe. And I think my goal for USDGC is going to take no bogeys. I mean, obviously, I'm probably going to take a bogey, but if I can just limit that, I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean USD or Winthrop specifically is probably the prototypical big number hole on tour. Throughout the years they've slowly chipped away at a lot of the stroke and distance penalties, which like help with maybe not taking like 11s, 13s, and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I played with Emerson in 2021. It was funny. Isaac was also on the card. And it's like the first time I ever met Isaac. And Emerson took a 14 on hole 12, and I think that's like one of the only holes that's broken distance and
yeah,
still. And that's a hole that I always step up to, and I'm just terrified of because
yeah.
I've taken a 7 on it. It's not a huge number, but it can kind of feel like the world's falling apart a little bit. And Emerson afterwards went around and picked up every single disc was like a foot off the line, just walking around the circle, just picking them up, and every disc was just a
Oh,
foot off the line, and it was like it was brutal. So I think I'm just gonna play that hole for par this year. If not, unless I'm in perfect position, I'll just play for par.
I love it. And I think that course it does that to you. It makes you make a decision, right? You legitimately have to make choices out there. Whereas a lot of the golf courses, I think, on tour, every single player, when they say like stick to the game plan is birdie every hole. Like for the most part. Out here,
Yeah,
you're making eagle
technically, yeah.
plays, you're slowing it down. I'm really, really looking forward to this year's USCGC. I'm coming out on Monday, so super excited
Nice.
for it. But last thing I wanted to kind of touch on before I get you out of here is um, I want your take on your community you've developed on the road. Uh, you know, this isn't your first year going to all the tour events you've been, for the last few years building up to, but this year, your mom has been there less on tour. You're doing it a lot like on your own and with your crew. So I guess could you speak to the importance of like finding a friend crew to roll around with, and maybe how important that's been like for just like keeping you sane on the road?
Yeah, I feel like it'd be pretty miserable to not have a good friend group on the road. So I'm so thankful of all the boys. Um, I obviously have like my core group of friends, but then I also have just a lot of those kind of friends that I can always like, I don't know, like talk to, or like, just if I need to play practice round with them. Like I'm cool with like almost everyone on tour. So I'll have a lot of people I can always like kind of fall back on if I ever need to. But yeah, I mean having those people help me so much because I don't have a license or a car. So catching rides is super important.
That's funny.
I'm gonna try to get my license like as soon as possible. I have to just not fail my driver's test. So
Yeah.
then I should be good getting the passport for next year. I'll be over going to Europe. I'm excited for that. So yeah, just looking forward to the next year starting fresh.
Man, I love that we're approaching, one of the biggest tournaments of the year, and you seem to be more stressed about failing your driver's test than you are about playing maybe lead card at the final round of the tournament. So, first of all, I just love that as a life like experience for you. But that is about all I had for this interview. I wanted to give you a chance, though, to speak to the fans, family, anyone from across the world that's pulling for Mr. Gannon Buhr.
Yeah, just thanks everybody. I mean, anyone who's purchased my jerseys, my discs, anyone who's kind of came up and said hi, asked for a picture, asked for a signature. I love all you guys, and it means so much to me to see that I'm making an impact on people. And so that just kind of pushes me to play better and just keep a good attitude on the course, which I'm continuing to work on as well. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to finishing out the season, hopefully strong, and hopefully I can see anyone at these next couple tournaments.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you so much, Gannon, for taking the time for this interview. I appreciate it. It's been super fun chatting. And I will see you in like, I don't know, 2 weeks or so out at
Yep.
Winthrop. I think we're going to end up making some craft jerky content. Congrats on the new flavor, by the way.
Oh, sick. Yeah. 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 No,
Um,
it's awesome. People
yeah,
are loving
so,
it a lot. So I'm
oh, I
excited
loved
about
it.
that.
You gave me a bag at
Nice.
Worlds. It was freaking delicious,
Yeah.
dude.
Nice. I'm glad.
Yeah, so that's all I got for this interview. If you would like to pick up a bag of jerky, maybe contact Gannon out at USDGC. Otherwise, if you would like interviews of all things disc golf, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Yes.